For this entire time when I was writing the story, I sat on my couch, actually. I didn't have, because it was fairly comfortable, and it allowed me to just shift positions a lot while I was writing for long periods of time. And it also kind of got me out of the way of the main room so that other people like my girlfriend could wander through and do whatever they were going to do and use my main computer or, set up something on the table, and I just wasn't in the way. And it also was, comfortable, and it just gave me a good way to write on a tiny little netbook and a tiny little screen. I had ideas of taking it with me other places and writing there, but I never managed to get to do that. Not this month. I might do that in the future. I've written on it elsewhere before. I just never got to do it in November. It's all right. I'll get to that a little more later, actually, but I still want to talk a bit about how I wrote the 50,000 word championship NaNoWriMo novel. I wrote it on the couch. I had a binder under it, under the netbook, on top of my legs so that I didn't burn myself. And I found I really did well in that position, like just sitting on the couch slouched because I've got no posture worth talking about, and writing like that. And it was fairly comfortable, and it really got the job done. It took, again, I finished it in 29 days, got off to a really good start, floundered a lot in the middle, but did one sprint and made it for the ending. One of the other things I did, I started off listening to music while I was writing. And for a while there it helped get into the mindset I wanted for this story. Because as the story was forming, I wanted a certain mindset, but I wasn't in it yet. I didn't have the flow to be in that mindset yet, so I was just wandering off anywhere. As I stated before in these vlogs, I also went a little off the rails when I originally wanted it to be a third-person story, and it ended up being a first-person story. Whatever. I rolled with that little punch, and I switched it over. But soon, I was discovering that the music was hampering more than helping, because the story, while it had helped me establish the mood originally in my own head while I was getting the story out, eventually the story had a mood all its own. And I think this is another important, deep revelation, if you will, that I had in National Novel Writing Month, is that eventually, while you're writing a story, it will take on a life of its own. It will take on a mood of its own, a meaning of its own. And once it does that, it will, it'll, once it takes on the mood of its own, you don't need any more help. Let it flow with that mood. You can, again, this is like trying to force the shift in from first person to back to third person. It didn't work, and it won't work. Once you've got the flow going, the story is effectively trying to write itself out of your head. Like, I don't mean disappear from your head, but come out of your head and onto the page. It's already there. You're building it as you go in your head. You've got your plan, and it will work to your plan. You can still fit that in, but when the tone is going a certain way, when the feeling of it is going a certain way, and it's flowing like that, that's what it's meant to be. Trust me, a story that flows out of you as you're writing it, is better by far than a story that you have to force. That distinction will come through on the page. You can tell when reading, unless it's been edited beautifully, you can tell when reading a story whether it flowed or whether it was forced. There are points, there are breaks, there are awkward places in the prose that just show you how well something came out of the mind that was creating it. And it always feels those breaks, those forced breaks, that awkwardness. It's not destructive to the story, really. You can have a really good story that still didn't flow at all and had to be forced every inch of the way. Good rewriting, good editing, those can fix these problems, but they don't make the problems not there at all. They just alleviate the damage that they cause. If you're not looking for it again, sometimes you can skip right over it, but a lot of the times it's jarring. It's jarring. It can cause you to be pulled out of a story. And if you're writing fiction, the one thing you don't want is to have your audience, your readers, be pulled out of the story. You want them in, you want them hooked, and you want them to be imagining it, to be living it as they read it. That's the goal for any good writer. Have the readers be pulled in and forget for a while who they really are, where they really are, and be lost in the world that you've created. Yeah. Anyway, so the music wasn't helping, so I turned it off, and I found the silence, as silent as I could get it, worked a lot better for me then. Helped to start, didn't help as I was continuing on. So I would suggest then, for me at least, in the future, if I'm starting a story, put on some good music, something that fits with the tone of what I want to put down, but once it's flowing, turn it off. Let the story have a music all its own. Maybe other writers can use this advice, maybe they can't. I don't know. I'm hoping they can. I'm hoping it doesn't just apply to me, and I don't think it does. But I only know my own experience. Here it is. Another note about this year's National Novel Writing Month. One of the interesting things that they do for National Novel Writing Month is that they have what are called write-ins. That's where the local representatives of National Novel Writing Month, basically volunteers who love this entire event and love meeting people who are doing it, they organize these get-togethers for local writers. And a lot of writers do participate. The event's been growing year after year, and I hope it continues to grow and becomes like a fixture, a good tradition that'll last a long time, because it's really worth it. But locally, they'll set up these write-ins. Now, if you're in an area where there's not a lot of people, like smaller towns, things like that, you won't get any of these write-ins because, well, there's just frankly not a lot of people doing it. But if you're like me and you're in a major city, then there are a lot of authors, a lot of writers who are participating, and there will be people organizing these write-ins. Now, these write-ins, you go, and the idea is basically you take the time out, you go, and you write. And there are other writers there, and you can mingle, and you can talk, and you can swap ideas, you can get inspiration, you can go into these writing challenges where I think that you do like words, how many words can you write in the next half an hour or 10 minutes or something, and you just challenge each other to word races. And it's all in your story, of course. They wouldn't make you do something else because you've got a lot of words to write in 1 month. And it's a big social event, and I did not get to any of them this year at all. Once you sign up on the National Novel Writing Month website, you sign up, you select your area. The correct reps will have emails routed to you, so that you know when all these write-ins are happening. So I knew when all the write-ins were happening, and I didn't get to a single one of them. And I feel really bad about that, because I really wanted to go to these, but I never did. I was so busy, and every night that they had set for a write-in, I had something to do. Ugh. I'm so I wish it could have been another way. And next year, when I participate, I'm going to absolutely take the time out to go and participate in one of these. I don't know which one, because there's like 5 of them a week, and I don't know which ones are going to be well attended or not. I want to go to a well attended one because I don't know anybody. I know one other person doing NaNoWriMo in Ottawa, and he won well before I did. He was at like the 50,000 word mark on the 20th. Oh, he beat me something fierce. He ended up with like 70,000 words in his story by yesterday. Wow, like he really overcame me. He had the eye of the tiger there. So my props to Aspiring Something. You win the National Novel Writing Month, my friend. You win. But yeah, he was the only one I knew, and well, we know each other socially. Otherwise, we don't. Like he's seen a lot of my stories. He's seen other stuff I've done, but like we didn't trade stories much. We talked about it, but we were just so busy. And I don't think he got out to any of the write-ins either. I think it should be our goal next year when we're participating to force ourselves to go to these things and make them awesome, because we'll be there. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of a victory lap. I'm not done with these vlogs, but they're going to be even more sporadic now as I think of things to put in and as I improve on this story. I might talk about other things like attempting to get published, writing short stories, like actual short stories, not 50,000 word novella short stories. But I am glad I did this. I think one of the reasons I actually pulled it off this year was that I had something I was doing in addition to it. This vlog thing really helped me out. And I hope those of you who have been watching have found it interesting, and I hope the subtitle demon hasn't annoyed you as much as he annoys me. So, for today, and for November, thank you for watching, and I hope you read some good books.